Chapter 22, Flatliners. "You'll be fine," the stunt coordinator said to us. It'll be even better if you aren't strapped in," someone said to Kirsty. We should have removed ourselves, called someone, said something, but we'd been conditioned. Filming is extremely costly, and you have limited hours, especially during an action-filled night shoot like this one. The sun will come. It was the summer of 2016, on the precipice of that horrid election. I was filming the remake of the 1980s cult classic, Flatliners, in which a group of 5 medical students performed a high-risk experiment. They stopped their hearts briefly to induce their near-death experiences, flatlining, until their colleagues resuscitate them. Obviously, things get messy. The original starred Julia Roberts, Kiefer Sutherland, and Kevin Bacon. I was fortunate to work with a fantastic cast for the remake: Diego Luna, Nina Dobrev, James Norden, and Kiersey Clemens. A brilliant cast, a cult classic. It was set to be great. But it went off the rails, one of those movies that is a true mess from the very beginning. We were getting ready for a car stunt when Kiersey and I realized that everyone had a built-in thick seatbelt except for us. We looked to the various stunt crew members strapping the others in, perplexed, questioning why we weren't being secured for the scene. "Why does everyone else have a safety belt, but not us?" we inquired. Kiersey was laid out in the back over Diego. I was perched on James' lap. No restraints. A basic safety measure of the carefully orchestrated, expensive, and elaborate stunt that hadn't been thought through. Kiersey and I didn't do anything except comply and get in the car. We did not say anything further, that worry of appearing difficult. The scene began with a panicked escape, hospital security in hot pursuit. Barely making it out, we all barged through a heavy door, appearing in an underground parking garage. We sprint to a red Mini and pack in. Marlo, aka Nina, hits the gas. Jamie, aka James, is in the passenger seat, and I am on his lap. Ray/Diego is in the back with Sophia, also known as Kiersey, sprawled over him. Our reactions in that scene are genuine. The Mini was being driven by a stunt driver who sat in a go-kart sort of thing on the roof of the car. The vehicle was rigged with cameras to capture all of us, and the director did not want us to see the stunt before we did it. "I don't want to tell you guys about it. I want it to be a surprise, to get real reactions," he said. We were initially excited. We'd never seen stunt rigging like that, with a person attached to the top of the car. I still don't even know how that works. I love a thrill. I am a die-hard roller coaster enthusiast. I'll force you to watch POV videos of my favorite roller coaster's degree of fanaticism. I have friends who refer to me as the mayor of Six Flags Magic Mountain. I would bring people frequently, acting as a guide, the ride order all laid out. You're strapped in at an amusement park. Employees walk up and down the rows, checking the various belts and harnesses, pushing and pulling. They yell words indicating all is clear, and off you go. All of those measures making the experience possible, permitting one to surrender. The rise and fall, upside down, backward, the sudden drop, the world whizzes, the body evaporates. It offered respite for almost 2 minutes, the average length of a roller coaster ride. I could let it all go. This was different. At action, that car took off at shocking speed, zooming through the claustrophobic underground garage, barreling toward the gate barrier arm. It did not rise, but smashed against the windshield, the force splintering it. My heart pounded, jaw tight. It jostled the body, shoving it back as the driver barreled up the ramp, taking a hard, sharp turn onto the street right when a car sped past. The Mini swerved, the 2 left wheels going over the median curb. The vehicle tilted, all of us propelled to the right. I placed my hands firmly on the front dash, attempting to brace myself, flailing. I had no control. Kiersey and I both. half the car off the street, we raced by traffic. Our bodies jarred when it pounded back to the cement. The Mini reached the end of the median and pulled a 180. Spinning rapidly, we clasped what we could, inertia taking over. The director yelled, "Cut!" We sat there in shock. The first take was a whirlwind, a degree of intensity we did not quite anticipate. Kiersey and I looked at each other, speechless, staring at our shaking hands. We should have spoken up immediately, but we hadn't. The set pressure, all the moving parts, as if it can never stop. We got in the car for the second take. James wrapped his arms tighter around my waist. The others had their harnesses double-checked. Action! Again, the red Mini hurtled up the ramp, turned right onto the Toronto street, and as the stunt driver went to drive onto the curb, he unexpectedly slammed on the brake, propelling us forward and thrusting us back hard. Someone had driven onto the closed set, a large chunk of a Toronto street that had been blocked off for the night-long multi-vehicle car chase. Just a random car in the midst. Luckily, everyone was fine, but I think back to how reckless and dangerous that was, how Kiersey and I were treated with such flippancy and disrespect. Regardless of a stranger's car making it onto the closed set of a car chase, what if something just went wrong? Kiersey and I had since spoken of this incident many times, turning over why we didn't speak up sooner and more forcefully. In retrospect, I should have known the shoot was going to be a shit show. Within our first week, someone approached Kiersey on set, sitting in her chair between takes. "You only have this part because you're black, you know," he said to her. For myself, I knew from the initial wardrobe fitting. Instantly, I discerned what they were aiming for. More like a girl. Heels and skirts were laid out, which I didn't understand. They were medical students in residency at an intensive care unit. The film takes place over a matter of days, and my character hardly ever changes her clothes. I understood the assignment and I was going to comply, but there was categorically no rationale for the character to wear heels or a skirt. I said yes to fancy blouses, tight jeans, and boots with a heel. I figured the issue was settled. We solved the problem being me. A day or two later, Kiersey, Nina, James, Diego, and myself met for a table read. We gathered in a small, bare conference room in a hotel frequented by members of the film industry because it has corporate suites with small kitchens. We combed through the script, digging into scenes and bonding. The adrenaline at the beginning of a project is always a rush. The sensation of no turning back. As we were wrapping up, one of the heads of production asked me, "Ellen, can you stay for a bit so we can chat?" "Sure," I responded, thrown off by his tone, saying goodbye to everyone. I sat across from him, a desk between us, the sterile room enclosed by unadorned walls. "You know, Ellen, I grew up in a very progressive area," he began. "It is very open there, and I grew up knowing gay people." Oh no, I thought. Never a good start. The words came out as if rehearsed. I imagined him workshopping the moment, blocking it out of in his mind, watching the words with the smiles, matching the words with the smiles. Oh no, I thought, never a good start. The words came out as if rehearsed. I imagined him workshopping the moment, blocking it out in his mind, matching the words with the smiles. The cloak of nice. "Ellen, are you mad that this character isn't gay?" he asked me. I stared at him. I paused, less shock, more astonishment. He'd been friendly, grounded, and passionate, someone I was looking forward to working with. His exuberance clear at the table read. I had admired his energy. My astonishment morphed into a quiet boil. "Are you asking me this because I did not want to wear a skirt?" His face remained the same, an annoying grin with a glinting youthfulness in the eyes, but I pressed on. "Are you really asking me if I'm angry about this character not being gay because I'm not wearing a fucking skirt?" He looked on inscrutably, as if being pleasant means you are not queerphobic. "Your view of women is egregiously narrow," I said to the man, reminding him lesbians wear skirts too. He tried to voice a response, fumbling again and again, tripping over his words. He attempted to recover, but failed. I left him in the room and headed back to the studio. When I arrived, I beelined to an executive's office, a man I would later watch give a woman an unwanted massage on set. His subsequent text to Kiersey asking her to go to dinner glared with gross. I entered the room with his name on the door and crossed to the chair in front of his desk. I lifted my hands and curling my fingers, I brought them together, creating a nanoscopic tunnel to peer through. Your view of women is this small. I spied through the hole at him, apoplectic. It is this fucking small. He looked back vacuously. I persisted, speaking of the limitations, the misogyny, the queerphobia. All that I had swallowed for years, I hauled out my insides for him to gorge on. In spite of all that, I continued to prioritize the needs of everyone else over mine. I allowed the erasure, endorsing their disillusionment, trying not to be difficult anymore. I knew those in charge were dancing around the subtext. I knew they wanted me to look less queer. I asked them to leave me to it, again, reiterating that if I were to wear the clothes they wished for, I would look ridiculous, incongruous with the script, and that I understood the mission, that I would execute it. I'm sorry who I am is repulsive. I'm trying, can't you see? I tried to rid myself of my queer walk, the way my arms dangle and bend, how my hands move, the way I sit, not ladylike, as my father used to say. Soften the voice, be quiet. The screen can't be full of my repugnant features, those boyish ones, those lesbian ones. I know that. I've known that. A couple days later, I was at the studio for a screen test, not to be confused with auditions, more like camera tests. You show up to work as if it's a regular day. You head to hair and makeup, discuss looks, what to start with, the characters' arcs and whatnot. I would sit and face the mirror, eyeliner and mascara being applied, my reflection an enigma. I didn't want to look because I wasn't there, and the hope that perhaps one day I would be had vanished. As a child and an adult, I would press my face against my bathroom mirror. The last time I did this was in my trailer while shooting the second season of The Umbrella Academy. My eyes open wide, as close as possible. I would stare, periodically offering butterfly kisses. I could block myself out. I was a person I didn't know. I'd gaze into what felt like the universe. My eye, a planet of its own. I must be somewhere in there, I think. I changed into my wardrobe, the various outfits we'd finally settled on ready to go. I walked over from base camp to set, meeting many of the crew for the first time. The space already lit. I stood on my mark and spun slowly, as instructed. Front, slow turn, profile, slow turn, back, slow turn, other profile, slow turn, front, lens change. A wide to a medium, spin again, a medium to a close-up, spin again. I stood in front of the camera, waiting as they made minor adjustments. I was enjoying making small talk with the crew members I was meeting for the first time. Of course, not loving the clothes, but it was a balancing act I could handle. I was relieved that that was settled, and I stood up for myself, that I hadn't just swallowed it. A producer approached me, all smiles, with his phone out. He lifted it to my face, revealing photos of me. He began to scroll through Google Images, slowly moving through as if I had never seen myself, which I suppose in some ways was true. All the photos had one thing in common: long, wavy hair. I imagined his fingers typing, Ellen Page with long hair. The studio was thinking hair extensions. They think the long hair just makes you look more soft. That sounds like code to me. That really sounds like code to me, I retorted. My hair was shoulder length, not even that short. The character was not soft, nor should she have looked soft, whatever that even means. The studio just thinks. He looked back to the phone, scrolling down. Images of my face, its long hair, makeup, lashes surrounding the eyes, enhancing the emptiness. A slideshow, a mood board for that soft and pretty look they craved. I know what I look like, I said, and I walked off. I never walked off before. I wish I had left the project then and there. Instead, I called my then agent, who understood and was furious with them. I was grateful for this, to feel seen, not to shrug it off. It almost never crossed my mind that I could walk away, or that I could call someone, just pick up the phone and say, "This isn't okay." Too many times, those who were supposed to protect me did nothing, or if anything, only furthered my silence.